Welcome to the Healing Room. I'm Lavonda Handy, licensed marriage and family therapist and founder of Truth Center for Health and Healing. This podcast is a space where we slow down, get honest, and reflect on truths that shape us. Here, you'll find real conversations, solo reflections, and stories that center healing culturally, personally, and collectively. And just so we're clear, this podcast isn't therapy, and I'm not your therapist. My hope is that every time you leave this space, you'll feel empowered, seen, and inspired to keep growing. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Now let's get into it. Welcome back to the Healing Room. I'm Lavonda Handy, licensed marriage and family therapist and founder of Truth Center for Health and Healing. As we close out 2025, I really just want to take the time to not rush, to not perform, to not jump straight into goals, but just really a moment to pause and a moment to reflect. I don't know how 2025 has treated you, but for me, 2025 has challenged me, right? And I think it might have challenged you. So when I think about this past year, I think about a few things right away, right? I think about how my business has transitioned, how I've had some health scares for both myself and my husband, how I had to really step into the evolution of my leadership and my new endeavor of content creation, what that kind of has challenged me to be like really vulnerable, consistent, and courage, right? Because I am putting myself out there on Front Street, being silly, being really transparent about like who I am and how I show up for my family, how I show up for my team, and how I show up for myself in just some of the things that are really challenging to me. That's that space of vulnerability. And none of these things like worked out for my timeline, right? I am very much a organized. I want things to go the way that I want them to go. And nope, that didn't work out how I planned, which was, as a high functioning woman, was super uncomfortable. And I had to really sit with that. I really had to sit with that and think about how this year challenged me to say, like, I can plan, but I cannot control. So I think one of the biggest lessons that 2025 has taught me is that, one, I'm a super high functioning woman, right? I think I see this in my clients very often, and they're coming in and they're like, I should be like this, I should be like that. And this year taught me that I am very much like that too, right? There's a lot of shoulds that I put in place for myself. And as a high functioning woman, I had to learn that it doesn't mean that I have to be rigid. That means there can be some flexibility. And I think that I was in a space where flexibility possibly felt like failure. Like if things didn't work out as expected, or if it changed, if it didn't go a certain way, that I wasn't feeling like a success. And in those moments, right, I'm asking myself, well, what did I do wrong? How could I plan this better? Why wasn't I more prepared? Right. So I get really harsh on myself, and I'm questioning myself, which is sometimes it is helpful, right? That you can be able to reflect. But when that inner voice starts saying things that are harmful to you or cruel to yourself, then it's not useful, right? And so I would find myself doing that. And this year, really, I mean, myself getting sick was the space that challenged me to say that it is okay to slow down. It is okay to pause. And just because something does not work out as planned doesn't mean you messed up. And that's okay. Getting sick allowed me to really give myself a place to give myself grace and be more patient and be more flexible. And so, in that, right, it also really taught me that I'm a human and that's okay. All my degrees don't matter, all the experience really don't matter. I am a human that has really big feelings, and I can allow myself to exist in that space. I can allow those feelings to exist. But it also taught me that patience, right? To have patience, not just with timing, but with myself, right? Trusting my instinct. Y'all, I don't know if you like, I'm a gut person, right? If the vibes ain't right, I'm not there. So if the vibes are not right and your gut and your instinct are saying that something is off, listen, listen, listen. Please listen to your instinct. And then my boundaries in leadership, right? Especially when emotions are involved. Sometimes I lead with the therapist self and the emotion self first, but I own a business. So that really means that I have to lead with my business mind. And sometimes that business mind is a little bit more firm in the boundaries that have to exist for the business to run and be sustainable. And what's kind of most important for me and this year is that it's okay to be disappointed, right? I think that we try to avoid some feelings. Disappointment is a really a big one, and I don't like being disappointed, right? But sometimes we are, and it's okay to name that. It's okay to be in that space and allow that disappointment just to be and not try to correct it. Disappointment can exist with myself, it can exist with others, or just like things, right? Disappointed in how things turn out, right? You set yourself up to be really successful, or you set out a goal and maybe you don't hit that goal, right? But sometimes it is a reach for the stars and land on the moon moment. And even if we land on the moon, we can celebrate that moon, but we can be disappointed that we didn't reach the stars too, right? And those can exist, and you can allow space for grief in that. I think that is some of the most important things is being able to create the space. Like if you are feeling disappointed about something, is allow space to feel grief, right? And to be sad. And I think for me, I said a little bit earlier, like we try to avoid some of these feelings, especially when there's a goal in mind or where there are people that we potentially have high expectations for or think they also have the same expectations that we have for them. And when they disappoint us, when they don't show up in the way that we thought they would, it is really disappointing. And we have to give yourself a moment to cry about it. That is okay. Crying is good. Having that release allows you to just feel it in your body, right? Feel the emotion and give the emotion life. I think we spend so much time on setting goals and trying to show up in this really like uh, formulated box manner without showing the parts that are messy. And the parts that are messy are the parts that give us opportunity for growth. And when we're real about those moments, when we're real about the moments that are really messy and we share with people and then they share their same messy moments with us, something always new comes out of that moment every single time. So allow that grief to happen, right? And so that's what, for me, this 2025 has really created is that it is okay, right? It is not shameful. There's no embarrassment that has to exist. And you don't have to feel guilty about it. I'm not trying to tell you how to feel, right? Those feelings still might come up, but there's an opportunity for you to allow the feelings to be with you and not to allow them to take over you. So, my intentions for 2026, right? If you've watched a couple episodes before, I have been talking about capability versus alignment. And so I am fully invested into my alignment, right? If I am not aligned with something, I cannot lead into that, right? And clarity, getting really clear. If I'm really clear on what I want, how it connects with me, how it helps my business build, how it helps my family build, then it's more aligned, right? And so here's the deeper of understanding of what those words are going to require of me. And that means that clarity doesn't mean certainty. Like, it's not guaranteed to follow through. And then alignment doesn't mean perfection, right? It may not look the way that I thought it was going to look, but if it's done, right, that's okay. And I can still be proud about it. I can still share about it because I know that I led with clarity and alignment. 2026 is about being clear about those goals, right? And if I'm clear about those goals, I can also be flexible about those goals. And if even if there's like a little detour off the path for the goal, I can be patient in that, right? I can be flexible in that as long as it's staying aligned with my value and my morals and just like who I am. Even if the plans change, as long as I'm aligned, it's okay. And then when it goes off, when that detour hits, and if sometimes the detour hits a little bit harder than what we prepared for, I can be confident in myself that it's okay to be disappointed. I can be confident in myself that it's okay to get back up on the horse and try again, right? And some of these things may feel generic, but when we set ourselves up for really big goals, we forget about the generic terms and phrases that you've heard multiple times because our feelings are hurt, and we forget that you can try again while existing in the disappointment and while grieving, because sometimes, once again, it takes over us. And so what would it look like for it not to take over me is giving myself the space for the disappointment and to actually feel the feelings, process the feelings, so I can move on to the next step. And then when I'm ready to, right, to move to the next step and continue on with my goals, I do it gently. I remain consistent, and I remain honest with myself about where I'm going, how I envision getting there. Because when I'm envisioning, it's less about, once again, the exact way to get there, but more about the vision of that's where I want to go, right? And being flexible, and that how we get there may look very different. And so, as of high functioning women, and I'm a loop all y'all in. I'm a loop all y'all in. We believe that if it doesn't go as planned, maybe I'm not cut out for this. Let's not give up on ourselves. Let's not give up on ourselves, right? Growth requires adjustment. There's that flexibility. Growth requires us to be able to adjust as needed. Healing requires honesty, right? If we are going to heal and grow, we got to be real. So, who are the people that you're not being real with? The people may be you. Just so you know, you may be that person that you're not being real with. So, get clear on that. Success comes from being able to pivot, right? I think I am 100% learning that for myself, is that especially as a business owner, I gotta be able to pivot, but not abandon myself, right? The values, the morals, the culture that I'm creating within my business, the culture that I'm creating within the relationships of my personal life, I have to know how to pivot. And so I want you to reflect upon your year. Where were you most stretched for 2025? Mine was my business transitions, my health concerns, evolving and changing in my leadership, and learning how to really set boundaries within my business. What didn't go according to plan? That list can really go on and on, right? There's a lot of things. So, what didn't go as planned for you? And then, how did you talk yourself through those moments? I know for me, those moments go to talking with my friends and processing out loud. I need to highlight and identify all the feelings. And if those relationships are good enough, then I'm throwing myself into therapy and I'm processing and talking about what's coming up for me. And so then what did those experiences teach you as you move into 2026, right? I know people will say a lot of I'm going to make a New Year's resolution, but it's for me it's less about a resolution because resolution means like to resolve and like end, and we're not ending anything, we're growing, right? So how are you growing into 2026 that allows you to have your space for patience, to have your space for clarity, to have your space for alignment, to have your space for flexibility? Consider that. And as you think about your goals for next year, for 2026, how are you giving yourself compassion? It's okay to be ambitious, but can you hold compassion within being ambitious? And how you keep working towards what you want, even when you feel disappointed. What do you need? Do you need people? Do you need a therapist? Do you need accountability? What do you need for the moments when you feel the most disappointed and the grief feels so heavy and you want to give up? What do you need? And can you practice flexibility without seeing failure? That's my reflection for you, because we don't need to be harder on ourselves to grow. We just need to be more honest. If we allow the space for honesty, this is also kind of why I named my practice Truth Center for Health and Healing, because when we allow ourselves the opportunity to be honest, to be truth, to be authentic, massive, amazing things happen. So, thank you for spending time in the healing room with me. As we step into 2026, my hope for you is that we continue to pursue our goals and doing them with intention, with grace, and with flexibility. And it's okay if things don't go as planned. It's okay to feel disappointed. And it's okay just to keep going anyway. And the keep going anyway is not a push through, it's an acknowledgement of feelings and then resetting and allowing yourself to continue to say, okay, I can still do this because I have these other things in place to support me when that disappointment comes up, to support me when that grief feeling comes up. I can do this because I have these pillars around me. And so remember, this isn't therapy and I'm not your therapist, but this space is for truth, this space is for reflection, and this space is for connection. Until next time, 2026, keep honoring your truth. Thanks for joining me in the healing room. If today's conversation spoke to you, be sure to follow, rate, and share the podcast with someone who could use a little healing too. Remember, this space is for reflection and inspiration, not therapy. If you need support, please connect with a licensed provider in your area. To learn more about me and my team, visit truthcenterhh.com. Until next time, keep honoring your truth.